Starting a new painting today. It's a small one. I don't usually work this small, but had this little piece of canvas, and so I threw some texture paint on there earlier, kind of got a little bit of textured lines in there, and then found this image that kind of suited the shapes that were there. So I think I'm going into a woman series right now. It's kind of back from college days come forward. So anyway, this is a projected image, and I'm getting the positioning of the face that I'm going to use, and so I'm going to sketch that on and then work from there. Now the lines are in there, and it's very faint, so it might not be too visible, but this one has very little blocking because there's not much of the image. She's very washed out, lit out actually, so there's not a lot of detail. So I just wanted to block the shapes in. And when I first went to a class where they did projection, I really kind of freaked out because it felt like cheating to me, and I'd never done that. I've always drawn freehand. And then I found out by doing this, saved a lot of time in proportion and blocking, but it really ended up not being cheating in that there's very little that can be captured realistically. You really have to come back in and create everything. This is just kind of getting things more where they're supposed to be, and even that sometimes gets distorted by the projector, especially my crappy projector, where I can't really see a whole lot, and it kind of changes shapes a bit. So it all comes down to coming back after and really putting the detail in by looking directly at the image. So I got over that, and I really like being able to quickly get something up there where it needs to be without having to erase and start over a million times. Now the outline is in, and this is about the time when I start wondering if I'm ever going to be able to make this look real, because it looks like such a cartoon. Now I've blocked in the shadows, so we've got some medium values. It's looking a little less cartoony, still got a ways to go. So I've got everything kind of roughed in as far as the tones in the face are concerned, and now I'm going to put this background in. Seriously. So I'm putting this background color in as a base for probably silver leafing is what I'm kind of considering. And basically going to eliminate this distinct line from her face and have the background actually just define her shape. So this kind of rust color is traditional background for gold silver leafing typically. It tends to show through as it gets burnished out, especially in gold leafing, and gives it that kind of old traditional old world feeling. So it looks pretty flat right now. There's a little bit of texture, but it's basically going to get covered up. So that's where we are now. I'm adding the gold leaf, and it's basically sheets of very, very thin, tissue thin metal, composite. It's nickel and etc. And so that goes on and just gets burnished into the glue backing, and it's only going to stay where the backing is, so it'll just flake off where there's not any glue. So this is going to go in and get nice and burnished into the canvas, and This is actually a really easy treatment that looks super cool and sophisticated and special with very little effort or know-how on furniture, etc. Anything that you can put this glue on. So I'm going to finish doing that, and as I burnish it in, some of this burgundy or rust background will peer through in cracks and stuff, and then I'll enhance it with overlays of color on top of it if that's what it requires. So now I'm burnishing out this leafing, and I'm doing it with a sponge, and I'm getting kind of a brushed nickel sort of effect where I'm actually seeing little bitty lines, that kind of brush nickel, where it's not super shiny, kind of dulled down. Leafing, you can get it high shine, burnishing it with something smoother. This has got a little more texture, so I'm really pushing it into the canvas and actually almost sanding it slightly to get these areas where the background shows through a little bit. So I'm really forcing it to open up a little bit, and where it's at all loose, pull right off the canvas. So, and also getting it really in there. You can play with doing it any number of ways and getting different effects as to how much you burnish or how little or what kind of sealant you put on it and antiquing and all that stuff. And I'm actually wishing I had put more textured into it, like these kinds of lines. That always looks really cool with the leafing. But we'll work with what we've got for now. And like I said, this one's kind of creating itself because I'm fascinated by, I always pull these images out of magazines that have these type of paintings, which I don't know if that'll show up, but it's basically, you'll see there's the rust color again, and then there's gold leaf underneath that, and then the silver leaf that's burnished and tarnished and all that. And I love that look, but I don't necessarily like big solid things, so I'm like, how can I put interesting something in and still have that really cool tarnished leaf effect? So this is an experiment. Let's see what happens with it, if it works together. I'm adding in the glazes over the gold leaf to tarnish it, change the color, give it a little more aged, not so bright and shiny in your face kind of feel. And this can be done with any colors, and I'm going to probably just continue to play till it makes me happy. Starting with basically the same color almost that I used underneath, which is showing through here and there, but I'm kind of warming this silver up with that, and I'll just keep throwing things. I'm going to put this in and then bring these colors into her face, and then start going back and forth with colors, because like I said, not sure what I want to do with this exactly. So when it hits and I know it, it will be done. So putting the glaze on and then taking cheesecloth and just smudging that into there, wiping it back. It'll collect in the creases and kind of give a little film of the color overall. So that can be left on and as intense as you want it, or wiped back to almost nothing. This glaze actually is workable for a bit. It's not directly paint, so it has a little bit of give time, and I can even wet the sponge after a while and pull more of it off if I want to, and it can be sanded to get it completely off. So it's starting to age up a little bit. Well, I said I was going to let this painting do what it wanted to, and interestingly enough, the part that I left blank around the edges to compensate for stretching on stretcher bars is actually the coolest part of the painting to me. So where the gold leaf or silver leaf kind of just had a rough edge because I really wasn't caring because it was not going to be part of the painting, turned out to be just really cool to me. So it is now part of the painting, and I'm going to have to rethink how I mount this as a piece. Instead of being stretched, it'll probably be glued to a board and create even something even cooler. So, but for now, I have to figure out a way to fill in on this edge where her face is, where there really wasn't anything. So I have to build this back up and blend the colors in because it's actually going to be a bleed out painting. So there's my challenge at this point. I was afraid this silver leaf was a bit flat and was going to just not give me the interesting outlook that I was looking for, and now it's actually starting to come together. So layer, layer, layer. The more you add, the more you do, typically the better it gets. So as I'm pushing this kind of sienna color over the gold silver leaf that's been enhanced with blue and bringing in those cooler colors, this is warming it up, and now that it's dry enough, it's not kind of rolling off. The leafing is so shiny and glossy that those first layers of glaze will just kind of bead up and kind of slide around. But now that there's something for it to bite into, I'm starting to get a bit more texture. So I'm going to just keep playing until I'm satisfied. Well, I think I'm going to walk away for a little bit and see if this is it or not. Kind of feels done. Could need a little bit more shifting here and there, but good for today.